the hero is there. I don't think we've heard of them yet. But if Farage and Tommy Robinson united, and I don't mean in a special deal, I'm just talking about if one of those two people could pull the other one towards them in some grand coalition.
So are we ever going to be told the full truth about Axel Rudakubana, including what the Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Home Secretary Yvette Balls knew and when they knew? That possibility feels increasingly unlikely, given the way the political establishment, police, judiciary, and shamefully the mainstream media are hiding behind contempt of court to stop reporting facts that clearly do not fall under that jurisdiction. It's the same way the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, successfully spooked MPs other than Richard Tice, Nigel Farage and Robert Jenrick from even mentioning the case in Parliament. Anyway, I only ask because you'd have no idea, looking at the MSM, that Rudakubana's court appearance at 10 a.m. today before Mr Justice Goose at the Liverpool Crown Court, where he would have appeared via video link from Belmarsh Prison, was dramatically postponed. Apparently, his lawyers want more time to prepare his defence and he will now appear next week. But excuse my cynicism, given both Farage and Tice believe the government is desperate to see his case postponed from January. The more time they can buy silence, the better, they seem to believe. Obviously, there was no delay locking up Levi Fishlock for smashing windows and stoking a flaming bin at the Holiday Inn Express in Rotherham on the 4th of August. Now, all loyal Outspoken viewers know I am opposed to all forms of violence. But the fact he has received a 9-year sentence, yes, let me repeat that, a 9-year sentence, when Hugh Edwards, who made paedophilic material, and Mohammed Hassan, a Muslim man who beat up 3 women at a petrol station because they were in Western attire, received not a day behind bars. I'm sorry, this is insane. Indeed, the country is falling apart thanks to this sort of insanity. Shoplifting is now an epidemic.
You can see it poking out, that's how we clocked it in the first place.
Come on.
You're taking a piss now.
Come on.
Jump up and down.
We can see it, come on.
Keep going.
It's unbelievable. I'm not willing to accept this. Come on, you keep saying no, we know there's...
Look at it, come on. It's embarrassing.
Okay, finish.
Right, then turn round, because you can still see...
I don't have nothing else.
Now we've got the other side, because that side ain't working properly either, is it?
No, it's not. Look, nothing else.
Right, perfect.
Please,
Don't come back
come
again.
back.
You're all on video and picture.
As Emma Webb Trimble posted after seeing that video, foreign national shoplifters should be deported. Then you've got our brilliant farmers, who are so angry they are now openly threatening the food chain.
All of this lot here today were given, and I want to make that message loud and clear.
This is a very small demonstration of what we're capable of.
Don't go after farming.
I'll probably earn less than someone on the dole. You do it for love, and then they just try and destroy it every way they can.
They just want to take everything off you.
This journey will go on and on until we get what we need. This cannot happen, it will not happen, and it's not going to happen.
We've got big equipment, probably more than the army, and we're clever. We control a lot of cities, what comes in and out. So I think there's a lot more to come if they don't start to listen.
Would farmers in the UK ever stray?
Absolutely 100%. I think so far we've seen civil behaviour. There's talk of more disruption.
It will definitely go a lot further. People are starting to come together, and I think in the new year, I don't want to disclose what some of the ideas are, but a lot will happen.
Farmers are cash poor, asset rich, and they only just break even now.
We just work at a lot less than minimum wage, and yeah, that's just going to devastate the industry.
Do you think Keir Starmer understands farmers?
No, of course he doesn't. He hasn't got a clue, has he, half the time?
Full disclosure, I didn't vote for Labour. For me, I felt like nothing really was going to change under the Conservatives. They promised us a brilliant deal with Brexit, and now we're still trying to work out whether or not we're going to get any subsidies.
The Conservatives were slowly ruining the country. He's going to ruin it a hell of a lot.
Meanwhile, the NHS is recruiting for midwives that specialise in inbred babies, as an MP argues against first cousin marriage being legalised. And perhaps most disturbing of all, is the reality that flawed migration policies are going to cost us $1 trillion a year. As the brilliant Conservative Post put it while unveiling what they call the story of the century, to put this in perspective, the entire cost of the COVID pandemic was a snip at £400 billion, while the NHS barely registers at £180 billion a year. Wow. This is the Conservative Post saying even Nigel Farage has underestimated how important immigration policy is. It really is the difference between being Switzerland in 10 years' time or Lebanon in 5 years' time. So the whole damn country is falling apart. And we need to start trying to save our United Kingdom before it's too late. Now, the uncancelled interview. And I'm delighted to welcome back to Outspoken today Nick Buckley, the author of the new book, England, My England. And Nick, just before I brought you in, I wanted to read out something that you have written in terms of your prospectus, I guess, for this book. You say that at the moment, England's problems are many. Mass immigration, crime, unemployment, large state and government interference, rejection of merit, failing universities, poor education, laziness, entitlement, lack of confidence, rejection of personal responsibility, lack of morality, lack of patriotism, lack of self-respect, national debt, welfare, dependency, abortion, career politicians, poor parenting, and weak men. But you say patriotism is the way that England can be saved.
Absolutely. I mean, you've just read that list, and reading that slightly depressed me. So I apologise for
you
coming
wrote
up with that
it.
list in the film. I know. What we need to do is find our love again of this country. And that isn't to the exclusion of other people, and that's not to victimize and see other people as evil as the problem. Since the Second World War, whatever happened, we started to dislike our own country. How can you live in a family where you dislike your family, you dislike your children? That isn't a healthy environment to grow up in and to live in and to support and to love and to be there for. But that's what we've done to this country. The increase, the state's getting bigger, and all we do now is we look at the state all the time to fix our problems. And that in itself is the problem of this country. We're slowly turning into a socialist state.
You also say, Nick Buckley, that the word racist now simply means a white working class patriot. And isn't one of the problems, Nick, that people are too scared to speak up, especially when they see the sorts of punishments being dished out? And look, I'll just stress again, I'm completely against all forms of violence, Nick. I've always been clear about that. It doesn't matter who's protesting, whether it's the pro-Hamas mob or Just Stop Oil or the so-called Southport rioters. I am against all violence. But Nick, a lot of these people were not violent and ended up behind bars. Some people ended up behind bars just for sending a tweet or making a Facebook post, like Lucy Connolly or Julie Sweeney, because they were so horrified by what happened. And then you've got the guy today getting 9 years. And it does feel like there is a particular attempt to shut the white working class patriots up with exorbitantly ridiculous prison sentences.
This has been going, I talk about this in the book, but this has been going on all my life. Keir Starmer has just ramped it up to the next stage. 14 years of Tories were bad. New Labour was bad. My childhood in the 70s was all bad. As in, anything you said that people didn't like, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're homophobe. And those words were powerful words, but over time they've diminished now. And there was a bomb on my street 7 years ago. And that bomb on my street in Manchester city centre killed 22 people when the Manchester Arena blew up. And what did the people do? We all came out and we all sang, "Don't Look Back in Anger." And then 7 years later, you've talked about it earlier in the show, we had the Southport atrocity where 3 little girls got stabbed to death. At that point, then the people had had enough. And being called a racist and a fascist and a Nazi doesn't do it anymore now. And Keir Starmer, in his ivory tower, looked upon the anger of the people and he said to himself, this could go the wrong way for me. I could be strung up by a piano wire for this, because it's happened before. So he came down hard on the people because the powerful words don't work anymore now. Who in their right mind could be sent to jail for a tweet? Some tweets may need punishing because you've crossed the line, but I can never envisage a tweet that should send someone to jail. But believe, and I write about this in the book, it's a hard time at the moment, and Keir Starmer has got a lead fist coming down on us, but that's because he's afraid. He's afraid of the people turning, and this is the last resort of all dictators to come down hard. The people have had enough. The people have seen through all the smoke screens and all the lies and all the propaganda, and the people now want to reclaim this country. And my book is about encouraging them to do that and encouraging them to be a bit braver, a bit more courageous, and be sensible and don't get sent to jail if you can help it. But the days of doing nothing, they're over.
So what is the solution?
The last chapter of the book, I discussed that, because there's no point in writing a book about the problems and then giving nobody any tips or help to go forward.
But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected. Well, I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection too, protection from snoopers, from bad actors, and from hackers online. And I'm delighted to tell you I've now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network, to use the full term if you're new to this, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information anywhere in the world, wherever you are. Let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy to use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activity stays safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe online. It also allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and channels, including, by the way, all of the international channels or streaming services. So Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, Peacock, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+. You can be watching within seconds as if you're in another country. If you're traveling for work or if you're on holiday, it also allows you to get your favorite sports content from home, which is really handy for sports fans. This is an insurance policy too against creeping censorship like in France, which has blocked Rumble now. So it's true freedom, but a VPN can also save you money as well. Because you know there are some websites that actually change their prices depending on where you're buying from. This is a perfect way to get around that. Lots of other benefits too. You can use Surfshark on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. There are also over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, meaning there's a world of choice at your fingertips. Now, I can understand this might be your first time using a VPN. It sounds complicated. Trust me, it's not. I have the app on my phone. I have it on my computer. It's literally so easy, just with the press of a button. However, what's great about Surfshark is there's 24/7 customer service. So if this is your first time using a VPN, you will always have someone who can help you. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken and you will get an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. What's more, Surfshark is so confident they're the best VPN in the world that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So let me repeat, www.surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show.
So the last chapter in the book is about the resurrection of the English. And There's many things we can do, and I aim at it as an individual. There's no point me telling people to set up political parties and demonstration groups and go protesting, because an individual can't do that by themselves. So my theory is, if we can encourage individual English men and individual English women to be braver, to take on personal responsibility, and not to be afraid and speak their mind, because when they speak their mind and they show the world around them that they're not afraid, that gives courage to other people. And then they're slightly less afraid and they'll speak their mind. And believe me, courageous is, what's the word I'm looking for? You can catch it. It's contagious. You can catch it. And next thing you know, more and more people will not be afraid of the government. So speak your mind, be sensible. Tell your friends your points of view, your political points of view. You're sat in the pub with your friends and someone's talking about the LGBTQ madness. You just say, I'm not into that, because it leads to child abuse. That's why I'm not into it. When someone calls you racist, just go, well, if that's what you think. But I know for a fact the people who ran the transatlantic slave trade were actually your descendants. They were Black Africans. So stick up for yourself, stick up for the country in a sensible manner, and that will breed courage and bravery. But we've been in worse situations than this before. That's what I keep telling people. This seems bad because we're living through it. But the Spanish Armada was off the coast 3 times. Napoleon was waiting for a nice day to invade. Nazi Germany almost invaded. I lived through the 1970s when we had power cuts every day. My house was full of candles. Bodies weren't being buried. We've been through worse, and we will get through this. All we're missing at the moment is a hero, and we don't know who that hero is.
Okay, well, that's
could be you.
Interesting you raised that, Nick, because that was just on my mind. Because as far as I can see it, on the right, there seem to be 2 competing heroic forces at the moment, or at least people whose supporters view them as heroes. The first is Nigel Farage and Reform UK, and the second is Tommy Robinson and the Uniting the Kingdom movement. Now, of course, Tommy Robinson is currently behind bars. He's considered completely unpalatable by the establishment, unpalatable by the mainstream media, who want to erase this guy from society and try and lock him up. Nigel, on the other hand, has decided he's going to almost veer towards the mainstream as a way to take over the establishment and finally smash the 2-party system. Do you think Farage or Robinson could be the heroes, one or both, or are we looking for someone else?
Until the hero becomes the hero, we never know who that person is. It could be either of them, but more likely it'll be neither of them. I'm at the opinion the hero that's going to save us, we do not know their name yet. They're out there and they're working towards it. And there may be a backbench politician, there may be someone who's joining a party right now or setting up a new party. The hero is there. I don't think we've heard of them yet. But if Farage and Tommy Robinson united, and I don't mean in a special deal, I'm just talking about if one of those 2 people could pull the other one towards them in some grand coalition. That's what Trump's done. He's created a grand coalition of people who may not like him and may not agree with all his policies. But, if he said to, the Tommy Robinson supporters that you guys are welcome because we're going to have one of your people as a spokesperson for these issues. And we're going to get someone who believes in saving the environment, but is not a nutcase to do this, and start pulling intelligent, clever people together and build a grand coalition. So it's not a 1-person party. It isn't the Nigel show.
Because where do you, I mean, you know a lot about Reform, Nick, from a personal perspective. I mean, you were part of Reform UK. Have you turned off the party in some way, or can you talk a bit about your personal experience there?
So I stood for Reform UK 4 years ago. They were a couple of weeks old, and I wanted to stand for Mayor of Greater Manchester. And Richard Tice was on TV going, and we're a new party. And I thought to myself, you've not got a candidate for Greater Manchester Mayor. So I texted him, he got back to me, and I stood for them. And then I stepped away from Reform. You couldn't even join Reform at the time. They were so new, they didn't even have a membership base. And then I've stood several times as an independent. I've not followed that with Reform. I think they're doing some great work. Where do I stand now? The truthful answer is I don't know. I'm going to spend this Christmas now, deciding what is my next step. Do I look at Reform again? Do I join Reform? Do I not? Is there another party out there? Because I'm getting older now. I've probably got 1 or 2 more elections in me. I either make a stand now or I don't. And not making a stand isn't an option.
And are you worried about what some people see as Nigel's tack to the centre on issues like mass deportation, issues like not worrying about demography, issues of Islam, that sort of thing?
Do I see that as an issue? I don't see it as an issue today. They're not my views, hence why I think we need a grand coalition. Because to beat Labour and the Tories in the next election, it takes more than some good PR. It takes more than Nigel being a good leader and a great speaker. It takes more than that. We've got to bring other people to the party. So Reform could have somebody as a spokesperson who's more along those lines of mass deportation, and then they take the flak. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how Reform can go forward and win with this fairly soft approach on mass migration.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But I guess what Nigel would say is just look at the polls. And I mean, we've got a new one here, just out. And what's interesting here, Nick, is that Reform are now below Labour, but just 1 point below Labour, but ahead of the Conservatives. So whatever way you look at this, Nick, Reform has the momentum in British politics. And a couple of other things that I wanted to show you to get you to respond to as well, because there have been reports by Bloomberg that some Tory and Reform branches have held talks about unofficial pacts at May's local elections to unite right-wing voters against Labour, discussions about each side standing down candidates in certain wards. But Zia Youssef, the chairman of Reform UK, was incredibly clear on this. Let me be crystal clear, there will be no pacts. And then Farage has really turned on Kemi Badenoch, the new Conservative Party leader. I think for good reason, actually, but I just want to read you out what he has said specifically. I am watching the Tory backbenchers as Kemi Badenoch gives another average performance at PMQs. There is almost no enthusiasm for her at all. They are in much deeper trouble than they know. And this is what he was criticised for, though, where he said Kemi has no idea of what she is doing, no feel for the country, and no presence of delivery. And of course, it's those words, Nick, no feel for the country, that people are now hounding Nigel on, saying that's somehow racist. Of course.
Kemi Badenoch refers to herself as an immigrant. She stood up in the House of Commons several times and referred to herself as an immigrant. She didn't move here till she was 16, even though she was born here. She left straight away. So has she got that feeling of the country? If this wasn't the country you weren't raised in? So that's a fair point. Did he mean it the way it sounded? Well, who cares? Who cares anymore if he's called racist, if he's called this? Because it doesn't matter what he says or does, he's going to be called a racist, a Nazi, a fascist. And I think Nigel needs to take a leaf out of Trump's book and stop trying to play for the mainstream media, attack the mainstream media, embarrass them, stop playing their game, stop trying to be the Tory party he wishes the Tory party was. Tory party is gone, they're done. He has to be careful because at the moment, the Tory party don't have to do anything. At the moment, the Tory party is going to win the next election because it's their turn, because Labour replaced them, Labour doing badly. It's obvious Tories always replace Labour. It's up to him to win the election. It's up to him to show the people that he's not the Tory party. He's not just a different version of the Tory party, because we're sick of all of them. They've all taken us to bankruptcy. So we don't want any of them. He needs to show the country he has a new vision, just like Trump. Nigel Farage is a very clever man, obviously. I'm hoping he's got a plan. I'm hoping it's slowly. Let's get to the May elections. We'll do really well. Trump will be in office, and then our agenda comes through then.
I really hope so. That's what I keep thinking, Nick. I'm really thinking about that. I think I have a lot of trust in Nigel, that even though at the moment he is absolutely tacking to the centre, that it is part of a softly approach. He knows what he's doing. He knows this is a long campaign. And I would say Nigel, deep down in his heart, actually feels a lot stronger in a lot of these issues than what he is advocating for publicly. But I totally agree. I've said it a lot. I want to see more of the Trumpian approach from Nigel, certainly when it comes to the mainstream media, who he seems to think are somehow going to turn around and treat reform fairly, which is just never going to happen. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.